Hey guys, welcome back to Honkai Star Rail. So the Silver Wolf banner is almost upon us, and it's time I made a video going through all the reasons why I will be pulling for her on my free-to-play account. Now also, we did just wrap up our last giveaway and announce the winner in a community post, so we're going to be doing another $100 giveaway in this video. All you have to do is be subscribed and leave a comment and you'll go into the draw, and I'll draw it about a week away in a community post. More details in the description. But like I said, I am definitely going all in on Silver Wolf. Now, I also made a previous video going through some of my concerns with Silver Wolf, so I'm not telling you in this video that you have to pull her. I don't think any character in a game is a must pull. I think you always should go for the characters that give you the most enjoyment or you think will give you the most enjoyment. Another thing is, it's always a nice thing to do to wait a few days into these banners to see how the actual performance of the character goes, and I will make a guide on her when she comes out. But like I said, she is one that I am absolutely no-brainer pulling for on my account because I think the character is just too cool, and then her viability and what she brings to the table is something that really suits my playstyle. So let's get into it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is her debuffs. And we're going to be looking at some of this early action from the trial that we get at the start of the game. Keeping in mind, this can be adjusted. This is just the only thing we have in the game to actually test and see what her debuffs are. But numbers are always subject to change, but you can get an idea for the effects that she's going to bring. Now, the first thing is with debuffs, we don't know activation rates. The thing with activation rates is, say your skill says it's got an X% chance to base chance to apply a thing. It's not like other games where you've got an activation chance and then you've got an accuracy resistance check. In this game, your effect accuracy can stack on top of your base chance, and if the enemy has 0 resistance, you can actually stack those up and guarantee your chance to freeze. Now, if they have some resistance, you've got to get more accuracy. We don't know the exact values of every specific enemy in the game, so there will be like a cap on effect hit rate for Silver Wolf to guarantee her to apply unless the enemy is immune to her effects. So that will be a thing. So number one, if her activation rates are low, it's not an issue for me personally because I know I can just stack her with effect hit rate. Now, that is going to take away from her damage dealing potential, but I always intended to play her as more of a supportive character than a raw straight up damage dealer. And I just wanted to pause it on this and show you guys what we actually have in the kit. So the bug we put on was the speed bug. So we had minus 5%. Now this, once again, is based on the trial version we get in the live version. Then we have implant the weakness. So the damage resistance to this weakness type decreased by 20%. So you have a 20% damage reduction on that type. Plus, she's applying with that skill all type damage resistance by 12%. So the changed element is actually, if you deal damage of that changed element, the damage resistance to it is reduced by 32%. That is incredibly strong in my opinion. Now, if we go on a bit further in this clip, we get one with the defense reduction from the bug alone. Actually, I think it was earlier. So yeah, we've got like a 7.5% defense reduction. Now, these numbers are subject to change. This was put in when the game launched. They may have done some adjustments to this, but in general, we got a bug for defense reduction. Then her ultimate, which I couldn't test to see the numbers in the game currently because it would just one-shot everything. But you can bet for sure that her defense reduction is going to be high on an ultimate. One, it's tied of an ultimate. We already know Pella has a really beefy defense break and it's AoE. So we can pretty safely assume that she's going to have a fair bit of the defense shred plus resistance shred for the enemies. And I think those two things in themselves are fantastic. The other thing is, once you implant a weakness that you want to implant on an enemy, then you don't have to use your skill points anymore until that goes away. So obviously having slowed enemies is going to be really beneficial. Having sped up allies is going to be beneficial. So you can do more attacks into that without her having to use her skill, which makes it much more skill point, beneficial. Like I said, I've seen a lot of people say, I don't like debuffers because, you've got a chance to miss, whereas buffers, you're guaranteed to put the attack on. My view on that is, yes, but you're also missing out on damage potential of that character. Now, I think Silver Wolf could be built on a damage build and you just play it for RNG and just hope you get some of the debuffs. And yes, that's definitely a way. And I may even experiment with a damage-based Silver Wolf, because if you have her as like a secondary damage dealer and you get the RNG to land the debuffs, then it might actually get you to speed clear some stages that you otherwise can't do. So I like the versatility in the way that we will be able to play her. We could possibly have you know, a reliable character when you build her with enough effect hit rate that you just always have her and she's a supportive debuffer. Then if you're trying to, you know, reduce the cycles that you can try and do a clear on a Memory of Chaos stage, then you might have the chance to just slap in some attack gear and go, screw it. If we get the RNG and we land these debuffs, we can actually clear this in cycles. So I think she's great like that as well. But that was the first thing I wanted to cover was her debuffs. I think she's going to bring so much damage impact to the enemies with all those debuffs. So that is one reason I am definitely going to go for her. Okay, and the next thing I want to touch on, which may not be huge to a lot of people, but I think her technique is absolutely fantastic. Me personally, it's probably because I've been slugging away on my 4-star challenge account without a second healer, Memory of Chaos, and not taking damage in the first wave and the second wave is super important, especially until you can start, say, applying your March 7th shields or, you know, whatever it may be, but not taking damage in the first wave is really important. And her technique, the fact that it's going to deal, based on this example we're about to watch, looks like 2 break units at least to all enemies. So like your standard enemies, like being your standard soldier type enemies, it will break them straight away. And not only that, it doesn't matter what they're weak to, it will do the toughness damage, but then it will also break them with quantum weakness, which then delays the enemy. So I think this is a fantastic effect. Could be because I've been struggling away and I really appreciate it more than people that have the extra healer, but I think it's a fantastic effect. So let's just have a listen.
And outside of combat, Silverwolf can use her technique to attack an enemy and enter battle. Regardless of enemy weakness, she deals damage to all enemies and reduces their toughness.
If Silverwolf breaks an enemy's weakness with her technique, it triggers the quantum weakness break effect, right?
Yes, that's right.
So that's what I am really excited about with the technique. I think it's a fantastic technique for entering combat that you can just like break anything on the board and delay them and buy yourself that time. I think it's a fantastic one. Let me know what you guys think from your experience in Memory of Chaos. Like I said, it may be skewed because I don't have that second healer and surviving early on is very important. But, you know, as we look to speed runs, maybe you can start doing faster runs because you don't need to bring as much support because you can buy some time. I don't know, maybe cope, but I think her technique is really cool. The next thing I want to look at is my account. Obviously, this is my free-to-play account. Now, clearly, I've had godly luck, and I know a lot of people would look at this and say, well, obviously, he's got Bailu and Jeopard. He doesn't need a Luocha, so that's why he's going for Silverwolf. But even if I didn't have those two, I would probably still go for Silverwolf instead of Luocha. One, for me, Luoch is cool, I get it, but he's not a character that I just look at, I'm like, I must have that character, he's really cool. Whereas Silverwolf, in my opinion, has one of the best designs in the game. She has a unique feature that's going to allow me to make a lot of unique teams that I will really love. Now, we'll talk about team building in a sec, but even if I didn't have these two, I did a video yesterday looking at my other account, which is my 4-star challenge account, where I'm only using 4-star characters and the MC. I'm using 0 Eidolons, I'm only using free-to-play light cones, and I'm up to stage 9 of the Memory of Chaos, and I've got 20 stars. So one more star and I get another 60 jades, and then all I'm missing out on is 180 jades. And I don't think on that account, getting a Luocha would get me to 30 stars. I don't think one character can be that impactful. So for me personally, on my personal experience, I don't think any character is a must pull. But once again, you pull for whoever you want. Now, other people may be just saving for Kafka, and I completely understand that. But for me personally, and once again, this is my personal take on characters and what I'm doing, I'm not telling you to do this, I think Silverwolf is the one that I will have the most fun with and enjoy team building with into the future. Now, I want to talk a bit about team building as well, because this account is set up pretty well. We don't yet know how Silverwolf is going to work, but when you look at my teams, say we have to use mono teams. Now, I'll explain why we might have to in a sec, but if we had to use mono teams, being like, you know, Silverwolf and all of one element, I'm pretty well set up. I've got the physical team, really nice. We've got Clara who can play as a tank, Natasha as the healer, Sushang as the breaker slash DPS, and then we can use Silverwolf for the change, get it to physical. Now we go to ice. I've got Yang Qing, I got Chapad, and I got Pella. Then we can just slap Silverwolf in. We've got this would be a very heavy offensive debuffing team. This is like a hyper offensive team. I don't think this would work everywhere, but I still think it would be viable. Then we have the lightning team. I don't have it properly. To me, you'd have to have Jing instead of Serval, but that was just one I wanted to throw in there as another option for people if you've got it. But then we have the quantum team. Now, for this, what we could have is we could have Qing Shui as the sub DPS used to generate skill points. Then when she gets her enhanced basic, she deals some nice additional damage. She's also there for an AoE option with the ult and everything like that. Zilla as our main DPS, Bailu or Natasha as a healer, and then you could chuck Silverwolf in here, and that means, you know, you can just change it, get it to the quantum, and then we have some really nice quantum pressure going on there. The other thing is, I think Zilla is like one of the, like Zilla and Qing Shui with her are going to be sick, because the other thing is they also have the quantum gear, and if she's changing the enemy to quantum weakness and you're getting rid of 32% of their resistance to that damage, plus having 2 defense shreds, plus having the quantum gear set that ignores another 20%, you are getting a lot of damage output from that. So I think these two are really going to be well paired with her. Now I want to talk a little bit about the team building, because in my last video we talked about how we don't know exactly how she's going to work. Now I want to find an enemy. Yeah, this one will kind of do. So what I wanted to look at here is, this is an example of where the quantum team could come into play. So if we're looking at this enemy and we don't know how this works, so we've got to wait and see. Now, say we got Natasha, then we brought you and Silverwolf into the battle. We got 3 quantum, we got 1 physical. Now, I'm hoping when we use Silverwolf, if the enemy is already weak to an element, she won't implant that element. So in that case, in this situation, we would be guaranteed to implant quantum, and then we can just do massive quantum damage. Now, if there was a chance to still implant the physical weakness and it just basically does nothing, then that would suck, but hopefully we would only have a 25% chance at it. Like I said, I will test all this as soon as she comes out. I'll make a guide about it because it's very important information in the way she works, but either way, I'm happy to pull for her and get her. Now, the other thing we can look at is if we go to another stage and have a look. So for instance, this guy here, say we were building a team for this, and say I had like my Fire MC and my Bailu. Now they both cover those weaknesses. And once again, if we get it and it turns out that, you know, if they are already weak to that element, she can't implant it. Well, then for this boss, we've got 2 units that make up our sustain core, being our tank and our healer. Then we could bring either QQ or Zilla and our Silverwolf, and if that means that we are then guaranteed to implant a quantum weakness, then I think having Silverwolf with a built Zilla or a built QQ Qing Shui, I think that will be like an amazing pairing, because you can basically do this type of system for any enemy. This enemy is already weak to quantum, so that's not really an application. We can try and find another one. That one's fire and quantum already, but you get the gist. So yeah, this one, ice and lightning. So similar thing, you know, I could bring, we won't do Japad because that's a bit wailing, but we could do like something like that. We could do March and Bailu, and then we could once again bring the QQ and the Silverwolf, and now we have that guaranteed chance to implant that quantum weakness, and we just get that absolute quantum pressure just going through all the defenses, the resistances, and everything like that. So I am super excited to see, one, how she works, because if she works the good way, it opens up a lot more options for her, and she becomes a massive, huge pairing for something like QQ or Zilla. But either way, I think I'm going to have a lot of fun team building with her, and that's the big thing for me. When we look to usability, I think she's incredibly usable. I did mention that perhaps, you know, maybe once we get so many units built, you've got mono teams for everything and you can cover everything. I still think the damage resistance that she adds to enemies, the resistance shred, makes her just an incredibly viable unit, and I don't see her being useless at any time in the future. Yes, there may be better, like more viable teams or best in slot teams, but I don't see her being a trash unit anytime near future. And I also always see her being very viable, especially when we look to pairing her with QQ or Zilla, and then just pairing up your other supportive characters based on what the enemy's already weak to. Once again, provided that is how she works, which I'd be very sad if that's not how she works. But that pretty much sums up my account. Like I said, even if I didn't have Bailu or Japad, I'd be pulling for her just because I like her so much. And I don't think that having a second healer, well, it depends on what you consider a must-have. So I'll do more of this when I talk about Luocha closer to his banner coming out. But essentially, you know, is skipping a unit you really love to go for something you think you need to get like an extra 180 gems a fortnight or maybe, you know, 240 gems a month, depending on how many stars it gets you. Is that really worth it? So to me, I love Silverwolf's design. I love her play style. I love the whole concept of her at the moment. Also, as you can see, I've been spoiled for choice on this account, so I've been building a lot of things. Now I've just stopped. I'm going to wait and see how Silverwolf works, and then I may just like ignore a bunch of units and know that I can always bring a Quantum and then just get coverage. You know, if I can always bring QQ and Silverwolf to a battle, implant that weakness and then dominate by covering the weaknesses that the enemy already has with my other 2 units, then I can sort of narrow down on the units that I want to build. So I think it's just an all-round good decision for me on my account to go ahead and build that Silverwolf now. Plus, like I said, she's a sick looking unit. Lots of debuffs, happy days. She's got an arm sword that turns into a cannon. And yeah, I'll see you in a few days for my pool video. Anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.